So the objectives of this lecture is that we're going to study what are meetings, that is the definitions of meetings, and what are the different purposes of meetings, because meetings are conducted for different purposes. How many types of meetings are there, though we cannot name all the types here, but the important ones would be mentioned. And how do we organize meetings? What is that you need to do before and after conducting the meeting, and writing task in the meeting, that is meeting minutes. Meeting is defined as a gathering of two or more people where positive discourse occurs. Of course, their purpose will vary. As I've told you before, that there are different purposes for which we conduct meetings, and different types of meetings have different purposes. So any gathering in which there are certain number of people or individuals, and they are talking about some important points, discussing some important points, we consider it as meeting. Or it is also defined as a standard verbal expression in speech or writing, an extended communication dealing with some particular topic. So it can be defined as certain standard verbal expression. Standard verbal expression is that, for example, in meetings you have certain terminologies that you use, which we are going to discuss in the later slides. So you must have this point, that is you normally have agenda for that, that is particular topic is already there. Meetings can be face to face, or it can be like conducted through videos, that is, for example, Skype. Meetings provide opportunities for sharing information, making suggestions and proposals, taking discussions, and obtaining instant feedback. So for instance, if you want to take feedback from someone, you conduct a meeting. If you want to share some information with someone, you can conduct a meeting. That is, you want to make some important announcement, so you can conduct a meeting. Or you want some suggestions regarding some topic, or whatever the agenda of the meeting is, so you also conduct a meeting for that. It is very helpful in exchanging the views. How meetings are helpful? So meetings facilitate in the exchange of information. You can share information with one another. Articulation of alternative viewpoints, that is, it may create different viewpoints which might not be there in your mind, but someone can come up with a different idea. Deliberation on specific issue, that is, you might have certain discussions on some specific issue, or maybe you have some misconceptions, or you have some misunderstandings regarding certain issue. You can go for a meeting, and those misconceptions or misunderstandings would be clarified. Or if there is certain topic or idea or a concept which needs clarification or elaboration, explanation, you can also conduct a meeting, and it will help in solving that problem. If you want to have a final plan of something, or you want to take certain decision, so you can go for a meeting and discuss it with your group, whichever group is involved in taking the decision, and you'll be facilitated in taking that decision, or finalizing your decision, or any plan. You can also review of the performance, that is, how things are going on in specific organization. It may also help in that regard as well. It is very helpful in communication, and these 2 points over here tells you that how much communication is important when it comes to solving a problem or finding a solution for a problem or discussing any topic. It's very important. Communication is very important. So meetings are one way of communicating, whether it's in the form of written or a group or oral or any kind of meetings. It helps in better communication and effective communication. A very important question. Why do we conduct meetings? What is the purpose of the meeting? So the first purpose is to coordinate or arrange activities. As we've already discussed, that meetings are helpful in supporting the activities, or if you want to go through the activities, what has been done, what is going to be done, so you can conduct a meeting. So it's a purpose of the meeting. You can conduct meeting for this purpose. To report on some activity or experience, that is, you want to share some views about already conducted activity in any organization, you can conduct meeting. To put forward ideas for discussion, that is, if you want to bring up some idea, some new solution, or some kind of novel way of dealing something, you can go for meetings. It is also very helpful in discussing and solving the problems which are related to business. So for example, if a company is going through a very rough time, so they can conduct meetings in order to solve their issues, to give and get new ideas and immediate reactions. For instance, there is some kind of problem going on in an organization. If you would conduct meeting, you'll get to know one-on-one answers face to face from your employees in just one go. You'll get to know what are their feelings. You'll get to know what are their views about a certain decision or certain topic or certain problem. If you want to appreciate someone, you can conduct meeting as well. Or you want to give positive views to someone, that is, to encourage them to work more or work hard, you can conduct meetings for that. It would fulfill this purpose. If you want to come to the conclusion on one issue, you can go for meetings as well, to learn from others and to train others. There are meetings in which we sit together and learn from one person, any specific software or something like that. You can go for that as well. To create involvement and interest to obtain assistance. If you want to involve someone and take their help, you can go for meetings as well. Reviewing operations, we have already discussed that if you want to look into the status of something, that is, where is it right now. Let's suppose you are the head of an organization and you have started a project and you want to know the status of your project, how much work has been done, how much is left, is everyone done with the task that they have been assigned. You can go for the meeting. Communication with other parties, that is, meetings are not only concerned with one organization. It can be done with different organization in order to know what others are feeling about it, any topic, or what are the views of others regarding any issue or project. Successful planning can be achieved through meetings as well. Certain points are going to be repeated because they all overlap. However, there are certain rules that you need to keep in your mind when you are conducting a meeting. That is, a meeting should be conducted only when it is essential. Unnecessary meetings will be cumbersome for the members of the meetings, as well as it's a waste of time. The time must be properly managed, and it must begin and end on time. That is, whatever time that has been mentioned, you must follow the same timings. You can also have this option of telephonic discussion when it comes to meetings. But if if there is a possibility that you can have a face-to-face conversation, then it's better, because it has more, you must have more understanding when it comes to face-to-face communication. You must have clear agenda. Agenda are those points which you discuss in the meeting. So for example, if we are discussing, let's suppose, this online education, so proper agenda should be mentioned. This online education could be any kind of education, but then what specific education, what specific points are you focusing on? And the time limit should be specified. It should not be like all the time, or maybe it's taking like the whole half day. No, it shouldn't be like that. So you must manage the time. You must notify the members of the meetings through a memo, or send notification or some kind of reminder emails. It is important to notify the members for the meetings, for the meeting. Conclusion of a meeting has to be summarized. It's very important, so that everyone sitting within the meeting should properly understand what were the conclusions, what were the decisions taken. In some meetings where you require follow-up meeting, so you need to inform the members of the meeting about the follow-up meetings as well, that you will be taking a follow-up meeting. Then minutes of the meeting should be circulated. Minutes are those points that you write, the conclusions that you write after the meeting is conducted. So you have to circulate the minutes of the meeting in after the meeting, and among the members of the meeting, the attendees of the meeting. And meeting should be concluded and closed on a very good note, thanking everyone and for the input that they have given, and sharing the conclusions. Different types of meetings are conducted for different reasons. So we have many types of meetings, but here in this presentation we are only going to focus on the important types of the meetings. So the first type of the meeting is called annual general meeting, that is AGM. That meeting is held every year to inform an organization members of the previous and future activities. So it's kind of annual, as the word suggests, that towards the end of the year, or it can be mid of the year, but whenever, like for example, meetings in the schools are conducted when the final exams are held, and after that the session is towards the closing. So that meeting is conducted in order to identify the previous activities, as well as to shed light on the future activities as well. So that is annual general meeting. It for such meetings, or any kind of meeting, it's not just for this meeting but any kind of meeting, you need to notify at least 21 days prior to the meeting, that is before the meeting. You have to identify the members of the meeting. Okay, then we have board meetings. As you are the students of business, so you're well aware about the board meetings. Board meetings are it's a management meeting involving the board of directors of an organization. It can be board of directors, it can be board of governors or syndicate. These they can be the part of the meeting, and when they are the part of the meeting, they conduct meetings for companies or organizations, which is actually attended by all the members of the board, and is normally chaired by the chairman of the board. Chaired means the one who's going to be the head of the meeting, who's going to lead the meeting. So normally these meetings are chaired by the chairman of the board, who's considered as the head of the board. Then we have committee meetings. Committee meetings is any kind of meeting of a group set up from a large group to manage specific issues. It can be any specific issue on which there has to be a decision taken, and so we call it a committee meeting. You might have heard of disciplinary committee meeting. So in which in our university, it is like a committee where they conduct a meeting where it's hearing and they had to take a decision. So committee has to go through some meetings in order to take the decision. So it's committee meetings. Then we have a senior management meetings. A senior management meeting is a kind of a meeting in which the senior members of an organization, but not actually the board, that is not actually the board, but the senior members of, like for example, in our university we have board members of the board, but they conduct their separate meetings. However, in senior management meetings, there are, like for example, the members like HODs of the different heads of the different departments, or head of different sections. They conduct a meeting, so that could be called as the senior management meetings. Another type of the meeting is departmental meeting. Departmental meeting is the meeting of the staff members of any department. It can be for the planning purpose, it can be for the discussion or some kind of reporting. It is normally chaired by the head of the or chairman of the department. So for example, in any organization, there is finance department, quality department, export department, or just like in your university, we have different departments like English department, or a department of English, or department of management sciences. So when they are conducting their departmental meetings, it is chaired by the head of the department, and all the staff members are over there. So they normally discuss all the issues or matters which are of concern, or they want to take decisions, or they want to share some views. So that would include in departmental meetings. Then, similar to this departmental meetings, we have staff meetings. However, they overlap. Sometimes they're called staff meetings and sometimes they're called departmental meetings. So if it is separately of a department in which there are only the staff of that specific department, then it is called a departmental meeting. However, when a staff meeting is conducted, when all the staff of any organization, they come together and solve any kind of issue or any kind of a project, or they're working on some kind of or solving any problem which they are facing, or sharing their views about some kind of activity which is going on in the organization. Working parties or project groups meetings, any meeting which is held to work on specific task or a project is called working parties or project group meetings. It is normally held in NGOs where you have a certain project, and only people related to that specific project would be the part of that meeting. Team briefings. Briefing is kind of a meeting as well. So in team briefings, you have the kind of meeting in which the supervisor or the manager of a team is actually giving tasks to the person, or discussing some kind of issues, or motivating the staff in order to do good work. Within these team meetings, we have formal and informal meetings. So these team meetings can be formal, that is sitting in a proper place, organizing it properly. However, it can be randomly done without informing. Instantly the team, the manager of the team is coming in front of the members, and they instantly start giving briefing to them that who's going to do this task, or discussing some kind of issue. So it can be formal as well as informal. However, in both cases, it is considered a meeting. Well, there are certain points which are very important when it comes to meetings. As I've told you before, that points are overlapping in this presentation. So because they are important in almost all the points that we are discussing. So there are certain codes which are attached to the meetings. We need to know about those codes. The first one is that you have to start and end the meetings on time. You have to be present in time over there, and you have to be mentally prepared for whatever they are discussing in the meeting. So if you are the part of the meeting, you have to get there in time. You must have in your mind set those objectives of the meeting, which is actually the some kind of agenda that is there. So it must be established, and you have to set an agenda. A meeting without knowing why are you conducting a meeting is useless. So if you're conducting a meeting, there must be a reason for conducting a meeting, and that is called objective or agenda. You have to be brief and precise. Do not elaborate things a lot. Do not beat around the bushes. That is something which is not of relevance to the meeting should not be discussed in the meeting. You have to listen to the others. That is, you must have patience for others' views as well. Don't dominate the discussion. You're not the only person who's sitting in the meeting, so you have to be tolerant towards others. And you have to encourage the participants to participate in the meeting and to share ideas, because that would help in generating new ideas and finding better solution for the problem, whichever problem you're facing or because of which you are conducting the meeting. You should not interrupt unnecessarily. Wherever it is necessary, you should interrupt, but if it is not necessary, do not interrupt, because time and again interruption would make the meeting extended, which would become useless. Then you're not supposed to evaluate the presentation. So for example, if someone has prepared a presentation and they are conducting the meeting based on that presentation, then you should not start evaluating or start pointing out mistakes, unnecessary mistakes in the presentation. You have to give your full attention to the discussion which is going on. Especially avoid using mobile phones. As I've said before, that it's better to stay close to the subject rather than beating around the bush. That is, discussing some things which are not the part of the meeting is useless. You must not take sides in the conversation. You must not take sides. That is, don't be biased. Listen to the both parties, or listen to all the ideas and then come towards the conclusion. Resolve any problems which are there. So for example, if two people are talking about two extreme points, or they are talking about two opposite points, you must resolve that issue or conflict rather than becoming the part of it. Decide on follow-up action. That is, once the meeting is conducted, you must need to move things in flow. That is, what action would be taken after this, and what action would be taken after that action. So you must state everything in sequence. Even the follow-up meetings should be organized and decided within that meeting. You must need to discuss and record the ideas which are already discussed in the meetings. So recording is done through writing the meeting minutes, and you have to assign that task to one person. And it's very important to have an outcome towards the end of the meeting. So meetings without conclusions are useless. Okay, so how do you plan a meeting? There's a pre-plan which goes on in your mind. That's the plan that you already have. And then you go ahead and you decide who should attend this meeting. If it is a staff meeting, then who would be attending it? If it is the board meeting, then who would be attending it? So you have to decide for who will be the participants of the meeting. You must not miss out on important participant, and you must not add useless participants who have nothing to do with the meeting. Choose the best time and the place. That is, best time for everyone to be present, and a place where everyone can accommodate and there is no noise. You have to prepare agenda. That is, without any topic there is no meeting. So you have to plan the agenda and sub agendas as well. So you have to state right away that what are the things that you're going to discuss in the meeting, and you have to stick to those points. So let's suppose you are the head of a society of let's suppose literary society, and you are conducting a meeting regarding some book fair. So what are you going to discuss with the members of the meetings? You are going to discuss with the members about the kind of the books, from which field, how are you going to deal with that, what tasks are you going to assign to them. These are going to be your agendas. And the next point is that you must take minutes. That is, someone should write what you have concluded or what you have discussed in the meeting. That is very important. So when you are conducting a meeting, you have to determine the purpose or agenda of the meeting. You have to determine a desired outcome. So let's suppose you are the head of the literary society and you want to conduct a meeting, so you have a certain event coming up. Your desired outcome after the meeting is that all the tasks will be assigned and there would be no problem or hindrance later in the event. Then you should also keep this thing in your mind while you're determining the agenda of the meeting, that what should the participants know. So for example, if you require some document which has to be given to the participants, so you should also give that to the participants of the meeting prior to the meeting. The third point is that you must write a purpose statement for the meeting. That is, what is the purpose that you have in your mind while you're conducting the meeting. That would answer the questions like what and why. Why are you conducting this meeting and what are you going to discuss in this meeting? The purpose of this meeting, whichever meeting is the one that you're conducting. So for example, if you're conducting the meeting regarding the literary society, so the purpose of this meeting is to gather the ideas regarding the upcoming event, or the purpose of this meeting is to give tasks to the members of the society. So that's how you come up with why and what answers. Who is going to attend the meeting? That's very important. You have to keep a time when all your participants, important people, can be present in that time. And who are the key participants? You have to ask this question. Those who will contribute to the meeting, you have to invite them. And if they are unable to come, then you can ask them, like if they are unable to come in person, then you can ask them to go for like speakerphone or video conferencing or something like that. In long meetings, you should include breaks. It's very important for all the participants to take some rest. And meetings which are very quick or emergency kind of meetings, in those meetings the problem is that normally very few people remember that what were the points, so you need to take down the minutes as well. And the within participants, it's not necessary that all the participants should be the part of the meeting. It can be like, for example, someone's assistant is the part of the meeting just to write down the points which were discussed, though they do not add to the meeting, but they add to the meeting in a way that they are writing and helping in writing down the points which were discussed in the meeting. So you need to keep this thing in your mind. Okay, and participants participants who are far away, so you can manage that through video conferencing and other methods if they are not present in person physically. You should choose the timings of the meeting with a lot of care. It's like we have already discussed that you have to keep in mind the participants who are important for the meeting. Like they should be the part of the meeting, and If without them the meeting is not complete, then you have to keep their time in your mind and choose accordingly. However, normally Monday mornings are normally considered as, good for the meetings, as well as Friday afternoon is also considered as a good time to conduct a meeting. Choosing a location, that is place where the meeting would be conducted. There are three important points when it comes to meeting. If you're conducting a meeting within organization, then obviously you might have a boardroom or maybe the office of the head where you are conducting the meeting. But the most important thing is whether your participants would fit in the place where you are conducting a meeting. Is it very spacious? So for example, if you have a meeting with 5 members and you are conducting the meeting in auditorium, obviously it would seem odd. So you have to keep in mind the location and the participants both. Then if the meeting is conducting with the other parties, so there are 3 points. First one, you can ask them to come to your location, that is your place. That would be comfortable for you because you'll be feeling good in your own place and comfortable and confident. There could be another scenario in which you can go to someone else's premises to conduct a meeting. That would make them feel good because you're actually signaling the kind of cooperation that you're cooperating with them. Or you can go for some neutral places, which is very common nowadays, that normally people go and meet in different cafes where they conduct meeting. So you can go for a third party where you're conducting a meeting in a neutral site. We have already discussed that establishing the agenda is very important. Agenda is an outline of what the meeting will address, that is what you're going to discuss in the meeting. You have to always prepare the agenda before the meeting, and you have to list the topics that you're going to discuss. Agenda should be distributed to the attendees a day or two before the meeting. That is very important, so that they can read and understand and mentally prepare themselves. For longer meetings in which participants are required to make a presentation before the meeting, you have to distribute the agenda at least a week prior or before the meeting, because they need to prepare themselves. Agenda should also list the attendees as well. So for example, if you are the head of the organizing society and you are conducting a meeting, so you need to inform your members about the agenda, but along with the agenda you have to send the list of the attendees, that is who else is going to attend the meeting, and you have to send the time and the place and the topics that you're going to discuss. So everything should be already present in the notification that you're sending to them, the agenda actually. If the meeting includes presentation, so you must mention the time allotted to each speaker. And finally, you have to mention the approximate length of the meeting so that participants can plan their rest of the day. So if it's like, for example, you think that your meeting will end in 3 hours, so you can mention 3 hours over there approximately. So agenda, notice or memo Memo is a short notice that you send within the organization in order to inform the members of the meetings, or inform anyone about any notification. So if you are sending the agenda, what are the things that should be there in that message or a cover letter? The purpose of the meeting, the date and place of the meeting starting and end point. If you don't have the end like approximate stopping point of the meeting, then do not mention it. The names of the people who are invited or who are going to attend the meeting, who are called attendees, and the instructions on how to prepare. That is, if they need anything for the meeting, like preparation or ideas, then you also need to state those instructions as well. Minutes are very important. Minutes is minutes of the meetings are when you are done with the meeting. Within the meeting, you ask someone to write down the important points or the decisions that are made or the suggestions that are given. The person notes down the points, and then towards the end of the meeting, those points are properly typed and properly mentioned or written, and then it is distributed among the members of the meeting, that is the attendees of the meeting. So it's very important to have meeting minutes, otherwise someone might forget what was discussed in the meeting.